Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, appreciate you being here to answer questions. Look, I'm concerned from Wyoming and for workers across the country. I'm worried that foreign competitors continue to use unfair trade practices against the United States, against our workers, against our producers. These practices threaten our economic security, our prosperity. We want a safe and prosperous nation. Workers in my home state and across the country are paying the price. So can you just talk a little bit about how you determine if foreign trade and economic practices constitute an emergency for our country? And I just heard our previous speaker talk about asking ChatGPT. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to ask you, how is it that we determine if foreign trade and economic practices constitute an emergency for our country?
Thank you, Senator. In the first instance, when the president declares an emergency, he has to consider where there is, the conditions that may impact national and economic security. And so for him, he took a look at our trade deficit, which was the largest in human history under President Biden, 1.2 trillion. And we looked at what the effect of that was. And it includes loss of 5 million manufacturing jobs, loss of 90,000 factories, loss of competitiveness with China in advanced technology. And then we looked at what are some of the causes of the trade deficit. And certainly there's currency manipulation, there's other currency factors, but also non-reciprocity in trade, barriers overseas, whether tariffs or non-tariff barriers that keep us out, unfair trading practices like dumping and other things that push things into our market, or subsidies, or state-directed economies. And so those are the things we look at. And then when you move to the countries, obviously it's common sense to have a baseline to make sure there's no cheating and that we can get at the deficit broadly based, and then to have a higher rate for those who have who pose the biggest challenges in terms of the trade deficit and unfair practices.
Thanks. Could I ask you about nuclear fuel? And for decades, America led the world in uranium production. Today, there's virtually no commercial enrichment capacity. We're dangerously dependent on imports from other countries. Congress took a strong stand by banning Russian uranium imports. We're now seeing a troubling shift with increased uranium imports coming from China. And we think it's the uranium from Russia going to China, which they then sell to the United States. So we've simply replaced one adversary with another. This poses to me a serious threat to our national security, to our energy independence. Wyoming has the resources and the workforce to revive American uranium production. But what we know is that subsidized foreign uranium from China and from Russia threatens to undermine our domestic industry. Well, you're going to support efforts to end uranium imports from China as we continue to try to build our U.S. nuclear supply.
Senator, I'm happy to talk to you about that and the best way to implement that kind of action.
Great. Market access for Wyoming beef. Our ranchers are seeing what you recently did, what the president has recently done, and say it's about time. I know you heard a lot about market access today. Just specifically discuss market access for American beef. It's our #1 cash crop in Wyoming. Our ranchers produce some of the highest quality beef in the world, yet our beef faces significant barriers in key foreign markets. So I do appreciate your office's efforts to document the numerous barriers that unfairly block American beef exports. For example, Thailand imposes a 50% tariff on American beef. The European Union's numerous, quote, Green Deal restrictions limit market opportunities for our ranchers. Australia's barriers prevent the sale of a safe, high-quality American beef. They've sold $29 billion into our country. We can't sell a hamburger there. So Wyoming beef producers have felt the direct impact of these unfair trade practices, and I say it's our #1 cash crop. What steps do you see being taken now to open new markets and ensure fair access for our beef around the world where we've been blocked?
So, Senator, as everyone knows, we have a lot of countries coming to talk to us right now who want to have more reciprocal trade, get their trade deficit down. And obviously part of that is making sure we have access for products like beef, making sure we're exporting products like beef. I've talked to the Australians about this issue. It's always surprising because they're a great partner for us globally. This is a big issue with them. Southeast Asia as well. These are things that are on our list when people come to talk to us. It's something we've recorded for years, and we expect countries to change this.
Great. Thank you. In terms of critical minerals, we sit on vast deposits of critical minerals in Wyoming essential for our national security. Our state has significant reserves of rare earth elements. Are there some trade initiatives that you're taking right now that are going to pursue to counter China's dominance in the critical minerals world, both in terms of production as well as refinement?
Yes, well, I know, for example, this is at the Commerce Department, but I know they're considering whether they need to take some kind of an action and looking into potential Section 232 investigation of critical minerals to know, how we can get that here, how we can get processing here in our near abroad, how to make sure we're not dependent on China for those things.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Blackburn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for being here today. I know you have had a busy week, and we appreciate that and appreciate what the President is trying to do for the broader economy. And, of course, it is encouraging to hear that